Krishna had appeared to him and given him this garland, and therefore he was feeling very enthusiastic and he was chanting. So, you know, that was Prabhupada's, the other side of Prabhupada's inspiration. You know, from within, Krishna was reciprocating because he dedicated his life to his spiritual master. Same thing in Vrindavan, when he sat down and started to write the Bhagavatam. You know, we have that story. There's a book, Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All, by, put together, it's a series of interviews put together by Mula Prakriti Dasi, one of our god sisters. And there's an interview in there with, what's his name? Somebody Chandra Ghosh, I just forget his first name now. Anyway, Gopal Chandra Ghosh. So Gopal Ghosh, he was a young student, about 20 years old, when Prabhupada was resident in the Radha Damodar Mandir and when he was working on his books. So he said, I used to go around there sometimes and offer my respects, and sometimes I would sit with him and talk with him. So, you know, Prabhupada was in his mid-60s at that point. Gopal Chandra Ghosh was only a student, 19 or 20 years old, but they would chat sometimes. So he said, one time I came, Prabhupada was sitting there and he was sick. And he asked, what's wrong? Oh, you know, got some virus or something, some flu. So I'll just take a little medicine and then hopefully it will go away. The next day he came, and Prabhupada's completely fit and bright and healthy, you know, effulgent. He could see something had happened. So he said, what happened? You know, all of a sudden you've gotten over your sickness so quickly. So then Prabhupada told him that in the night time, he said, my Gurudev appeared to me. And he gave me instructions how to write this Bhagavatam. He said, I was in too much anxiety, how to write this Bhagavatam. But my Gurudev came in, instructed me how to do it. He told me that you following the footsteps of Narottam Das, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Baladev Vijayabhusan, all the acharyas, and they will guide you. So, again, that's that connection that Prabhupada had with his spiritual master. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told him, you do this work, you'll get all the blessings of the acharyas. And that's actually what happened. Because then, sometime after that, Gopal Chandra describes that maybe in the winter time he went and he saw Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was sitting and he was very, you know, deeply chanting and crying. Tears were coming from his eyes. So he could understand something had happened. So he asked him, you know, has something happened, some special, you know, thing occurred in your bhajan? So initially Prabhupada wouldn't talk about it, but he pushed him a little bit. So then finally he told him that in the middle of the night he'd been chanting at the bhajan kutir of Rupa Goswami, and then three very effulgent figures appeared before him. They were like big lotus eyes, wearing just kopin and japamala around their necks. And he said they were Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and then in the back of them, a very much younger and very, very beautiful young sadhu was there. That was Jiva Goswami. And they gave him instructions about his preaching in the West. So that was, Gopal Chandra said that was all he would tell me. But when I became Prabhupada's servant at the end of '75, Harikesh told me about this story, but not the detail. He just told me that at some point Rupa Goswami had personally appeared to Srila Prabhupada and given him instructions. And he didn't know anything more than that. I had never heard that before. So I thought, you know, okay, if I ever get the opportunity, I'm going to ask Prabhupada and see what he says. But you can't just walk in and say, hey, I hear that Rupa Goswami gave you some instructions. You want to tell me? You know, you have to wait. So I waited about 7 or 8 months. And then when we were in France, no, just before France, when we were in England, then Prabhupada, he was just getting over some sickness. Bhagavan flew in from France and he brought with him the first volume of the French Bhagavatam. Very, very nicely done, gorgeously, you know, laid out everything. Prabhupada was really, really happy. He said, when my spiritual master sees these books going out, he becomes very happy. Again, the same thing. No, he was very happy. He is very happy. So there was some chit-chat. Then the others left. I stayed in Prabhupada's room with him. And Prabhupada started talking about his days writing the Bhagavatam and, you know, being there in the Radha Damodar Mandir. And in the book, they'd included, I think it was the first BBT to do it, they put some photos of Radha Damodar Mandir, and in particular Prabhupada's rooms. Otherwise, the English books, they only had the pictures of the artists. But this was the first time that they put some actual photos, apart from Chaitanya Charitamrita, of course. Anyway, so one picture was of Prabhupada's little room there where he had his kitchen, where he would eat. And the angle that it's taken, you can see on the right-hand side his seat, and then in front of that on the left-hand side, there's a grilled window. So Prabhupada was telling me how he first rented those rooms. He was giving 5 rupees a month. He said, now I'm giving them 10 rupees. So I, you know, because these were occasions where you would really get the nectar. If Prabhupada relaxed a bit and started reminiscing about the 50s or early 60s. You know, we had no Leela Rita at that time. We had a brief biography, but the details of Prabhupada's life we didn't know. So anything that Prabhupada was saying, we would really look it up. And so, you know, he was telling me about his time there in the Radha Damodar Mandir, how he was paying this rent, he got 2 rooms, etc., etc. And, no, I've lost my track.
You wanted to ask him about the father figures.
Yes, so I thought, now Prabhupada's really in a nice mood here. He's been, you know, giving forth a bit more than what he would normally do. And I pointed to the picture. I said, so you were sitting there and you could see, from there you could see Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. Prabhupada said, yes. He said, I was there living on my own. He said it was not unpleasant being on my own. He said, at least I don't have any headaches. And so then I thought, this is it. This is my chance. Prabhupada's open and amenable. He's talking about Rupa Goswami and Radha Damodar. So I slipped it in. I said, well, I was told that Rupa Goswami had appeared to you and given you some instructions. And then Prabhupada's mood immediately changed. And he said, oh, everybody knows that. And then he changed the subject. So he didn't give me any details. I couldn't plug him for the details. But he said, everybody knows that. So word had gotten out, he was aware of it. He didn't deny it. He confirmed that Rupa Goswami had actually appeared to him. And from Gopal Chandra Goshi's story, we understand it wasn't just Rupa, but it was Sanatana and Jiva Goswami as well. You've seen that picture sometimes in the books. Somebody, artist, drew a picture of Prabhupada in that room with Rupa Goswami, but actually there were the 3 of them that were there. Anyway, my point here is that this requires unwavering strength and enthusiasm to fulfill the desires of the spiritual master. Because Prabhupada was fighting against all odds, you know, like Arjuna, fighting against Jayadratha. It was against all odds. It was an almost impossible feat. But because he attempted it, and he was such a surrendered soul, Krishna had to reciprocate. He wasn't going to see Arjuna enter into the flames of a, you know, funeral pyre. So he arranged things, even beyond normal, so that he would be victorious. And the same thing with Prabhupada. What he attempted was literally impossible for a man of 70 years old. It's just nobody can do what he did. You know, what to speak about just, you know, creating the organization, but then pumping out 80 books, you know, elaborate translations. There's one story about this gentleman, Mr. Dimmock. He was considered at that time, in the 70s, to be the leading authority amongst the American scholars on Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And he was going back and forth. He would go to Vrindavan, he would study the books of the 6 Goswamis, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. And he had a lifetime goal to translate, be the first person to translate the Chaitanya Charitamrita into English. And he'd been working on it for years, and this was just a translation. This was not a commentary, because he wasn't qualified to comment anyway. But, you know, painstakingly, he was translating verse by verse, like that. So then in 1975, the BBT comes out with the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, 17 volumes. You know, not only, you know, translation, transliteration, word for word, extensive purports, gorgeous, you know, art, and photographs, everything. I mean, it was an amazing production. So the devotees on the library party, I was told this story. They happened to go to the university where Dimmock, you know, was situated, because we had a little bit of contact with him previously. When Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita came out, they went to him to get an endorsement, some kind of a foreword or, you know, scholar's appreciation that could be printed in the book. And I think initially he had done something, but it wasn't very satisfactory. I don't know all the details. But anyway, what happened was that the devotees knew that this man's a drunkard. And so they took an opportune time. They wrote the, you know, the piece out that they wanted, and they approached him when he was not in his, you know, right sobriety, let's say. And so he signed it. He signed it. Later on, when he read what he'd signed, hey, I hadn't said that. I think it had to be removed after a few prints. So Dimmock had, you know, some experience. He knew who Prabhupada was, and he had his own, you know, plans. So his, you know, magnum opus was going to be an English translation of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And when the devotees came into his office to get him to endorse the library in his university to buy the full set, and they showed him the full set, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada had popped it out in 18 months. This man had been working on it his entire life, practically, or his scholarly life. They said he practically had a heart attack. When he saw that Prabhupada had done it ahead of him, he almost had a heart attack. He was so shocked. So he couldn't believe that, you know, somebody could have done that. So what Prabhupada did was so exceptional, so extraordinary. You know, there's no parallels. There's no comparison that you can give that equals what Prabhupada actually did in setting up the movement, you know, setting up the BBT, and you know, totally transforming people's lives. And it was all on this basis, unwavering strength and enthusiasm to fulfill the desires of the spiritual master. So that's the key component if we want to be successful. We're talking especially about management. So if you want to be a good management, that faith has to be there, that determination. We may not do things on the scale that Prabhupada did, but what we do must be what Prabhupada wanted, not something that we concoct. Yeah, we have to have that clear understanding of Prabhupada's intent and his actions, and just do what we can with, you know, according to whatever capacity that we have, and then things will go very nicely. Okay, so there's a lot more that we could talk about, but we're out of time. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, no, it's Peter Michael.
Yes, Sir, what was the outcome at that time with Yapataka Maharaj and Mr. Chowdhury for the land acquisition at that time?
What was the outcome about the land acquisition in Mayapur? It went through, with a lot of effort, it went through various levels of local government in Calcutta. It finally came onto the desk of Mr. Chowdhury himself, because he was the senior man in the land department, but he was a bureaucrat, not a politician. Apparently the chief minister at that time, and they were not communists at that time, they didn't come into power until 1977, apparently he made a comment that now it's up to Chowdhury to either approve it or not. But Mr. Chowdhury would not make the decision because he was afraid that he'd get accused of playing politics or favouring, you know, the foreigners or whatever. So he wanted it to be approved by some other method. And then, of course, in '77, the communists came into power, and that was the end of it.
He was scared.
It wasn't scared. I don't, whatever the local politics were in there, he never told us, but that was what I heard. Jagapataka Maharaj could probably say a whole lot more about it. But the end result was that we didn't get the land acquisition.
Okay, thank you. And how many sannyas initiations did Srila Prabhupada give? approximately?
How many?
Sannyas initiations.
I actually don't know. I haven't done an accurate count. Maybe 20 or 30 or something, I don't know.
Thank you, thank you.
I mean, he gave sannyas to 9 men just in 1976.
Yeah.
So maybe at least 30 or 40. Yes?
Maybe it's a bit unfair, but one of the points you didn't touch upon was, I think, anger and chastisement.
Well, we didn't even get through the first item of having 3 adults. There are 8 other aspects. The last one was anger and chastisement. You're obviously interested in that. Is that because you're angry or because you've had some anger pointed at you?
No, more like your understanding of Prabhupada's approach to this, or your experience of
Well, that's
Prabhupada's.
another seminar for another day. Well, I'll be coming back for many lifetimes, I can tell you. All right, it's getting very late, we're going to finish. Srila Prabhupada ki.